Abuse, rape, or trauma are things that happen to people who are victims at that very moment. Child or adult, there's nothing you could have done to prevent the atrocity. But when it's over, the healing must begin.
It gets harder every day.
You have inner beauty, you have inner worth and value. Framing your past as your past and leaving it there will help you to frame your future and lead you to the place where you belong, with a woman's soul restored. Here's LaTanya Hendry.
Hello, and welcome to A Woman's Soul Restored. Today we have a very special podcast for our listeners. I am sitting in the office of our Doretha Rice, who is the program director here at Safe Shelter in Savannah, Georgia. It's a privilege to sit here, and you might hear noises or paperwork in the background. This is a working, busy office, and I thank her for taking time out to set a few moments aside to do this interview. And we do have our mask on if we sound a little muffled. So thank you for joining in today, and we're going to turn it over to her for this interview. So Ms. Rice, thank you for sharing some time with us this evening. And could you tell us, a little more about what you do here at Safe Shelter?
Well, good afternoon or good evening. My name is Doretha Rice. I'm the program director here at Safe Shelter. I've been with the agency now for approximately 15 years. And my primary goal is to make sure that our clients receive the services that they need while they're in the shelter. I supervise the case managers here. And again, like I said, my main role is to make sure that my case managers have the tools that they need in order to carry out the task and to help our families to transition out of the shelter into permanent housing.
Awesome. 15 years, that's a good tenure to be with a company. And I've seen
through
that y'all do very good work in the community. That's why I wanted to get in here and do an interview with someone on staff, and I'm happy it was you.
Mm-hmm.
How long has Safe Shelter been in operation?
Safe Shelter is actually over 35 years old.
Wow.
So we've been around for quite a long time.
Okay. And what is the primary mission of a Safe Shelter?
Safe Shelter primary focus is to provide confidential services for victims of domestic violence.
Awesome. So throughout the country, are there other safe shelters, or is it just in one region, or is it nationwide?
No, domestic violence shelters are located across the United States. Matter of fact, in Georgia, there's over 50 domestic violence shelters, and there's only one located in Chatham County, and that's Safe Shelter, and we are the largest domestic violence shelter outside of Atlanta.
Wow.
But if we have a family that comes in, and if that mother states that she would like to relocate because her abuser lives in this city and she's afraid for her life, then we can reach out to a shelter in California, in Washington State, in New York, in Nevada, wherever she decides she would like to go. We can contact that shelter in that particular state to find out if they have space to accommodate her and her family, and then we can make transportation arrangements for that family to get there.
That's awesome.
Yes.
And it would be the same if someone somewhere else and needs to get to Savannah.
Exactly.
It's awesome.
Yes.
Awesome. So besides the sheltering aspect, what other services do you offer?
We have a case manager that is housed here. She actually works for the Homeless Authority, but she's housed here at the Safe Shelter. She assists our mothers as well as our single women with developing confidential, self-driven case plans. Within the case plans, they work on housing goals, transportation goals, medical goals, childcare goals, and whatever the needs of the family may be. They work on those goals at that time. Awesome. We also have a child advocate. Our child advocate works with the mom to ensure that the children's education is not interrupted. We supply uniforms, book bags, school supplies. And we also assist with getting the children immunizations up to date.
Awesome. I asked that question in particular because I actually came through Safe Shelter in 1999 when I went through my domestic situation, but I didn't live in the facility. I was helped with the legal aspect.
A temporary protective order.
Yes. And even when I went to court during my divorce, someone from Safe Shelter was there with me. So are those services still available? Oh,
yes. Okay. Actually, we have an outreach office that is off-site, and it is not in a confidential location.
Right.
And at our outreach office, they pretty much work with clients in obtaining a temporary protective order. It's also known as a TPO. They also provide legal advocacy in reference to assisting individuals who need to be accompanied to court.
Right.
Then we have our legal advocates that will go to court with the victim during those court proceedings.
Awesome. And that's a very invaluable service because it helped me tremendously when I went through my divorce, because he hired a lawyer and I thought I was going to have to be on my own, but I was walked through each step of the way, and it really helped my confidence in finding myself and rebuilding as LaTanya and not being a victim. It helped me become victorious. So I was still wondering, was those services still in place?
Yes, and all of our services are free. We do not charge for any service.
Awesome.
None.
Awesome. So going into, how many women can you hold at the facility?
Well, we do not turn away any victims of domestic violence.
Okay.
Right now, our facility, we are a 48-bed facility. Sometimes those numbers may increase between 50 to 60. But once we're at capacity at the shelter, then we will house them in a hotel. We have a contract with one of our local hotels, and we will house that family in the hotel until space becomes available here at the shelter. If that family decides that they would like to relocate to another shelter out of the area, then we will work and make transportation arrangements for that family to be relocated as well.
And that's awesome, because we want women to know that you don't have to stay in that situation.
Exactly.
It's other options. Don't have your life at risk because you think you don't have anywhere to go. You have somewhere to go, and they will help you along the way. So please don't be stuck in that situation thinking you don't have another option. You have another option. And I'm so glad I'm here getting this information from you today.
Yes.
Have you noticed where the shelter gets additional calls during the holidays? Because we're now in the holiday season. Does the numbers go up?
Normally, we see an increase in clients during the end of the school year.
Okay.
And towards the end of October. We do see an increase in clients.
Okay.
Mainly the end of the school year, because we know moms have, school is out. Yes. Moms now feel comfortable enough to actually travel and leave the home with the kids.
Right.
And then during the beginning of the holidays, we may see an increase in numbers, because now they decide they finally want to leave the home because of fear of thinking that things may escalate during the holiday times.
Awesome. Though this location and Safe Shelters is a private location.
Right.
But do you find that the women sometimes try to reach out to their abusers after being here a while, or wanting to go back and try to disclose the location to get picked up?
Unfortunately, it happens. When that happens, we primarily will still work with the victim of domestic violence. We would just have to relocate her to another shelter. Okay. Because she has broken confidentiality. And not only did she put herself at risk, but she put the other residents as well as staff at risk. Exactly. So we still will work with the client and just possibly relocate her, or relocate her to a local shelter here in Chatham County.
Awesome. And it's a good service to have, because we know that nothing's 100%.
Yes.
And being a once upon a time a victim. You have that urge to go back sometimes.
Right.
And regardless of where you are, you want to reach out for that person. You don't want them mad at you, even though you didn't do anything.
Right.
So, yeah, it is probably, probably not a high number, but in that range, it's going to be one or two that try to reach out and go back, even though physically that's not good for them, but mentally that's what they know. So they try to go back and...
Right, and we are aware that it actually takes a victim up to 7 times to finally decide to leave their abuser. So sometimes we are aware during our assessments with our clients who's actually going to stay and who's actually going to return back to their abusive home.
Right.
When that happens, we pretty much encourage our clients to make their own decisions, but to let them know that we're still here for them. So if they do not break confidentiality and they decide to go back into the home because they just was not ready, and if they call us back, we will still provide services for them.
Okay, that's awesome.
Yes.
That's awesome. Because it would seem like you would get tired, but it's good that y'all still are available, even though they went back.
Yes.
That's just part of the journey. Sometimes you think you're ready to go back, and then when you get back, you realize nothing's changed. Then you want to leave again. So that's good that y'all are still there as an available option, a safe option when they do want to get out.
Right. And I think what helps also with our clients when they do decide to return back to abusive situation, if they participated in some of the services here, such as our support groups. During the support groups, we have domestic violence topics that we discuss. We talk about the different types of domestic violence, the characteristics of abuser, and we pretty much inform them about what domestic violence is all about.
Awesome.
A lot of times we have ladies that come in and they think that they weren't involved in a domestic violence situation prior to the last incident, because the last incident was physical. Then when we start to really get into the discussion of domestic violence, then, some of our ladies will say, oh my gosh, I've been in this situation for 2 years, for 3 years, sometime longer than that, because it was the psychological and the emotional abuse that they were experiencing throughout the years.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because we did a panel podcast a few weeks ago where we were discussing the various types of domestic abuse, and the ones that really don't get attention to is verbal and financial. We kind of, because it's not a bruise on you, people tell you, oh girl, don't worry about that. He's still taking care of you, but it's still abuse. And we have to let people know that it's more than just the scars and the physical aspect of it. It's mental, it's financial, it's somebody cursing you out and belittling you. All that is abuse. It's domestic abuse. And we don't have to take that.
Definitely, because emotional abuse is one of the most damaging form of domestic violence, because emotional wounds, sometimes they do not heal.
Yes.
Because our victims will constantly tell us stories where they can actually still hear their abuser telling them things to belittle them, telling them that they're no good, no one is going to want them, you have too many children, you're ugly, you're fat, you're not attractive. So those words really hurt, because they can actually still hear that abuser telling them those words. But again, when our victims come in and they may have a black eye, they may have a bruise on their arm or on their back, within a couple of days, those wounds start to heal. But those emotional scars are still there.
Yes, you hear those words. Even when everything's all clear, everything's clear, and your scars have healed, those words are still ingrained in your mind.
Yes.
And they're harder to get out. You need some kind of counseling and some kind of outlet to help you.
Right.
Some things we can't do on our own. You can put stuff on a scar and heal a scar, but that mental aspect, you need help with that.
Yes.
And I'm so glad y'all have those services in place to help out. When I walked up, I noticed that you all had a sign on the door about donations.
Yes.
Not taking particular type of donations. And that was one of the questions I wanted to ask. How has COVID affected donations as far as, and even volunteers with people coming in? How has COVID changed the dynamic of how you all do that?
Well, COVID has really made us adjusted. We are still accepting donations. Right now, we are okay with clothing because we just don't have the storage for the for clothes.
Right.
But we're still accepting personal hygiene items, household items, furniture. We're definitely still accepting those items right now. We are just beginning our Adopt a Family program. So during the Adopt a Family program, we ask for donors to sponsor families that are in the shelter and in our follow-up program. And we asked our families to complete a wish list. And we give the wish list to our donors, and they can use that wish list at their discretion to purchase items for that family for Christmas. Wow. So that's what we're doing now. So it's going to be a challenge for us as staff because we're trying to maintain our safety through COVID. Yes. But I will say this, none of our services that we offer to victims as far as having a shelter to come to, none of the services has been interrupted due to COVID.
That's awesome.
Like I said, they still can come in and receive clothing, receive their personal hygiene items, transportation to appointments, still meet with staff. Right now, we're meeting over the phone and using Zoom as our point of contact for our clients. Yes. Just to eliminate some of our face-to-face contact.
Awesome.
But we are still providing services to victims of domestic violence. That has not been interrupted.
Wonderful.
Yes. Wonderful. It's been a challenge, but we're still providing services.
You know, where there's a will, there's a way.
Yes.
And you all have managed to navigate and find a way.
And we have.
Yes.
And it's been a challenge for us working with agencies, nonprofit agencies, who are actually working remotely from home. So we have staff members who are not in the office that works at agencies such as DFACS and other nonprofit agencies. So we are, we had to find another way to link our clients to those services. Yes. So we've been emailing the agencies and just trying to ensure that the services are still being delivered. Wow. So that's been working out. We are still able to house some of our families in some of the housing programs. And basically just by utilizing our administrative equipment such as our fax machines and emails and copiers and that sort. So we just pretty much have to rely on the technology equipment we have now so that we can get those services to our clients.
And people complain about technology and having too much technology, but during this, what we're going through right now, technology has really been an asset.
It's been our saving grace.
If I had stock in Zoom, I would be happy right now because our Zoom is the go-to. Everybody's using Zoom.
Yes.
And that's a way to physically still see who you're talking and working with without having that physical contact. So I wish I did have stock in Zoom.
I know, right?
But it's an invaluable tool along with emailing and other things that we can use to keep in communication with the people and agencies we're working with. Since your tenure, have you seen a decrease or increase in calls per year?
Not exactly. Sometimes our numbers may fluctuate between 1,000 calls or less, but then that next year those numbers increase back.
Okay.
Last year we received over 1,600 crisis calls, and then this year, actually in 2019 it was over 1,600 crisis calls, and this year the number did decrease because of COVID. But I think as soon as people start moving around a little more and accepting the fact that this is the new norm, our numbers will probably go right back to where they were.
Okay. Good information. And I have really enjoyed. It's been informative because I really didn't know about the adopt a family aspect. I thought I knew a lot about Safe Shelter, but I didn't know that. Could you go into that a little more, because I'm interested myself in how that would work?
Okay, well, our Adopt a Family program has been around for approximately about 20 years.
Really?
And basically what we do is we have Adopt a Family form. And that form has the name of the family members. And it's just the first name. Mm-hmm. And it has a list of items that they would like for Christmas. So we encourage our families to keep their items under $50. And then you can select a family size of 1, a single lady, or a family size with a mom with 1 child or 2 kids, or a family with size with a mom with 5 or 6 kids. So we have different categories of family size according to the household size.
Right.
And basically, we encourage our donors to review the list and select some of the items from that list. Or they could just use their own discretion if they would like to purchase items that they feel that the family can utilize. Then there will, they can do that as well. Wow. And so we then will we ask our donors to complete a sponsor form.
Okay.
The sponsor form, it has the donor's information such as your name, number, email address, and then our child advocate will contact the donor through email or telephone and assign the family according to the size that they requested. Wow. And then we will send that information through email or fax. And then we will set a date to either pick those items up or for that donor to drop the items off to our administrative office.
That's amazing.
Yes,
that is amazing.
It is. And last year, I know we served over 75 families. Oh, because wow. Again, we do not only provide Christmas items for the families that are in the shelter, but we also work with our follow-up families. Yes. We follow our families up to 2 years once they leave the shelter. Wonderful. So basically, they can continue their goals that they were working on while they were here. Wow. And so we have a case manager and our child advocate that actually goes into the home, and just to make sure that that family is living in a domestic violence-free home in a stable environment. So we continue to work with our families again for up to 2 years. And we also work with our outreach family. And our outreach families are the families who receive assistance through our legal office. Okay. The families who parents have applied for a temporary protective order. And during most of the time in a temporary protective order, if the abuser is living in the home with the victim, that abuser has to leave that home. Right. So now that may leave that family with a 1-parent household income. So the mom or the father may not have the means to purchase Christmas items. So we again help those families as well.
That is wonderful. That's just the total overall. What you all do here is just amazing. And just sitting here, just taking it all in, I'm learning more. And I hope our listeners, because I know we think we know a certain thing, and just sitting here, I'm realizing you don't know everything. It's more to it than just what the appearance is. It's more than just the shelter. It's more than just when they leave, that's it. And that aftercare is very important.
It's extremely important.
Because you're vulnerable. And when you leave, it's like, what do I do now? So that's good that you all have that in place. Just up to 2 years. That's amazing. That's amazing.
Right. And right now, we're waiting on, we received some turkey, a huge turkey donation. Okay. And now we're waiting on Thanksgiving baskets to come in. Wow. And so those Thanksgiving baskets will be distributed to our follow-up families. So again, this is another service that we provide to ensure that our families are in a safe and stable environment, and they don't have to rely on the abuser to provide the needs that he used to or she used to during prior to the incident, the last incident.
I'm glad you added that in there because some men are now coming out more about being abused.
Oh,
in
yes.
Situations. So how do you all help the men that may have called or needing assistance? How do you go about that?
Well, if we have a male victim of domestic violence, we still provide the same services. We just do not house that male in the shelter.
Okay.
The male is actually housed at a hotel. Matter of fact, just a couple of years ago, we had a male in the shelter with 3 children.
Wow.
So normally when we have males in the shelter, their hotel stay is between 3 to 5 days.
Okay.
And then we would work with some of our other local shelters and just basically make sure that they can transition to another shelter. Or sometimes, most of the times, most of our men clients, they usually find other means of housing.
Okay.
But when we work with men who have children, it's a little bit more complicated, a little more complex, because we have to allow that man to stay in the shelter, in the hotel with his kids a little longer, because then we will work with him in finding suitable housing for his family.
Right.
So we just will allow him to stay there a little longer.
Okay. Well, good information.
Yes.
And it's good.
And it's happened more than once.
I could imagine.
Yes.
I can imagine. We take our men for granted, but they go through things too.
They do.
Yeah.
And most of the men that uses our services who've been victims of domestic violence, they primarily attain temporary protective orders.
Wow.
So they utilize our outreach office more than they utilize the shelter.
Right. Wow. Good information. So in wrapping up, because I don't want to hold a lot of your time, because she got paperwork all over the place and busy working and working on 2 and 3 things at a time. So we don't want to take up too much time. But in closing, is there anything you would like to add? Any information you would like for our listeners to know?
Basically, be a listening ear. Do not judge. If you are aware of someone that may be experiencing domestic violence, give them the information to Safe Shelter. Give them our phone number. Our phone number is 912-629-8888. Or ask them if they will go to Safe Shelter website, and that is safeshelter.org. On our website, there's resources that victims of domestic violence can utilize. Awesome. And there's information on how they can seek help. So again, be the listening ear and provide them with resources so that they can have the tools that they need to get out of a domestic violence relationship.
Wonderful. I thank you again for setting this time to meet with me, as coming, like I said, through Safe Shelter, not necessarily the shelter, but the services, help me to become the person that I am, to become strong and advocate for domestic violence victims that are becoming victorious, because you don't stay a victim.
That's right.
And that's just a temporary frame of mind. We have to move past 10 years and we still calling ourselves victims. No, we are victorious. We are survivors. So I really thank you for your information, for pulling up data to give accurate information. And thank you for the work that you all are doing in the community. And blessings for y'all going forward. Just continue doing what you all are doing. So this is Latanya Hendry for A Woman's Soul Restored. Until next week, you all be blessed.
Ooh.